So patterns of multiple candlesticks. So one of them is going to be, let's see, I'll bring up Netflix here. Why don't we bring that up? I'll show you what. First off, we'll do head and shoulders. So this is my second highest confidence pattern that I like to trade, with number one being a diamond top or a diamond bottom. So with head and shoulders patterns, you're pretty much going to want to look for things to line up, on the daily or hourly time frame generally is what I'm looking for. I find it's not as confluent on the hourly time frame or on the 10 minute and shorter time frames like that, but hourly and daily is a really good place to start. So one of the things you're going to be looking for, that changes a lot of the bias on how confident you can be, is roughly where the shoulders are, how clean the bottom of the neckline is, and then how clean the top of the shoulders are. So for Netflix here, for example, we'll go to the daily, and this is a rough head and shoulders. So I wouldn't be super confident about this making the full measured move generally. But what you'd be looking for, in general, to have very, very high confidence is going to be, so up here, let's put a level here. So number one on TradingView, I'll give you a couple tips on that as well. So this magnet here is super helpful. You can turn it on weak or strong, and that basically snaps your cursor to the end of the body or the top of the wick, or vice versa. So come in here, we'll turn on weak magnet, pop a level right there. So here's how you're going to put your horizontal lines. You have all these drawings to choose from. I only use like 10% of them. But first off, we'll go with a horizontal line. So we know that right here at 999, exactly on the nose, that is the left shoulder wick. And then we can also figure out that that is the left shoulder body. And so for a very clean head and shoulders, you'd want this right wick to line up with either the exact top of the body or the exact top of the wick. So generally, that's how I like to do it, for head and shoulders. And then it's incredible when they line up perfectly and the bottoms line up perfectly as well to the scent. And that's like a full risk on, like it's going to play out type of thing. So you'd want to make sure, see that it rejects from that shoulder, and then you can enter short. And then once you break that neckline, then you can hold for the full measured move. And so I find that with head and shoulders, if they're not perfectly clean, like very, very close to being to the scent, it's a little bit more sketchy to hold full size from there. Whoops. I didn't mean to do that. Go back here. So it's a little bit sketchier to hold full size there, but it can still play out even if it's not perfectly clean. And then you can even come down to the lower hourly time frames here and see exactly what's going on. So it looks like there's a clear, you could even draw it right here at 990. You can see that there's a clear resistance right there. So you could treat that resistance as sort of that shoulder. And then the way to calculate the measured move is you would see where the bottom is. So for here, the neckline, we could just make the guess that it's at 960 here. So we'll put another level here at 960. Okay, and then at 960 right there, you're going to look towards the high. So you can usually use, depending on what kind of move it is, you can start to play with it and use different things to calculate the measured move. Sometimes I'll take multiple measured moves depending on what the chart looks like and kind of see how it behaves at each measured move target. But so we'll go, you can change this to regular trading hours. So it removes all of that extended trading hours, after hours trading that is lower volume and doesn't mean as much. And we can see that the high here is going to be at about 1064. So to calculate the measured move, we'd take 960, 1064, find the difference, which is going to be 104. And then so from 960 here, we can subtract 104. And that brings us down to 856. which is going to be, look at that, perfect measured move. So you can see we will draw it out, make it a little bit easier here. So price range, we'll go boom. We'll go down to this level here, 104.43, and then so it's going to be boom. Oop, let me get that price range back. And would you look at how clean that is? So that's your classic head and shoulders pattern. So the measured move is always going to be the bottom of the neckline to the top of the head and then all the way down. So there's your measured move right there. And you do it based on a strictly dollar amount rather than percentage, because percentage changes based on upside or downside. And so the dollar amount here, almost exactly here it played out. If you entered on this break right here at 960, kind of like I mentioned the day when it started selling, and I said it's a really good setup. There was also a trend line that we broke that made it even clearer. And then so we sold and got that full measured move down to the bottom. And so that's kind of the gist of how head and shoulders work. And then it also works the same for the inverse. So I will flip, if you're on TradingView, if you click Alt plus I, it flips the chart. So this is what a inverse head and shoulders looks like. So same thing, you can see here, it's a little bit less clean on this instance, but same thing. So it's just basically the same pattern flipped upside down. Same measured move and everything, but it's to the upside. So that's, I would say, my second most confident pattern. My top most confident pattern is going to be the diamond top and diamond bottom. So we will go to, let's see, what's a good diamond top. I don't want to do SMCI, that's cliche. Let's do NVIDIA. We'll pop that open. Probably over a 90% hit rate with these. Whenever you see one on the daily time frame, it's like game over almost every time. So that's one of those things that you start to, it's hard to pick up on until you know what to watch for. So you'll see these start to play out, and you can kind of just experiment. And when it's in the early stages of one, you can draw it out and figure out all that. They don't have to be perfectly symmetrical here. So this could extend further and it could be a little wonky, but the more symmetrical they are, the cleaner it is, the higher confidence the move is for pretty much every single different pattern that you would possibly want to trade. So these are my highest confidence. And I mean, same thing if you want to flip the chart. Clearly it's playing out because we got that gap down, gap up right now. And we have not broken the level right here that we broke out of in that diamond top. So generally those are going to want what you're going to want to look for pretty much anytime price explores a high and a low, and then there's a clear uptrend and downtrend involved with that on either side. That's when usually it's a sign of distribution or accumulation, depending on if it's at the top of a uptrend or the bottom of a downtrend. So it's just a huge reversal pattern that's pretty high confidence. And I'll put together, I actually almost fully have put together some flyers for that just to, help you guys chart those out, figure out how everything works, the measured move, all that. And now we'll go into some more fundamentals now that I've shared with you a couple of fun patterns.